Greetings and salutations, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. Welcome to the Serendipity Gateway to our 90-day journey by heart. I now call in the presence of my mahogany wood ancestors, gods and goddesses of divine trifecta and interventions. I ask that you travel alongside us to ignite and activate our clarity and creativity so that we may know the truth by the way it feels, especially when it resonates with the highest good of our uniqueness and wholehearted individuality. I thank you kindly for those enlisting to my love team and the courage to provide them with the leveling up of my tender transparencies and authentic expressions. Please keep me tuned into the frequencies of your heartbeat and intuitive rhythms. And please clue me into the realms of the bigger picture so that I may accurately interpret the 6 degrees of our stories, community closeness, affinity affections, and divine timing. Thank you, my inner court. I greatly appreciate your guiding presence. The CMHU Coaching Conclave is now in session. Ashe. Well, all right, everyone. We are at installment days 10 through 13. Today being day 13. It has been a very interesting 3 days. So, what? The last recording was day 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I'll just say 3 to 4 days. Yeah, let's keep it crisp. 3 to 4 days. My goodness, where to start? Okay, so we're going to start with the theme. So the theme for this installment is called Operation Progress. The Oasis in the Desert. If you're familiar with the story The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and I always have to look at his name because I just cannot recite it um, by heart just yet. Inside this wonderful story, there is an oasis in the desert where the alchemist, and hold on because I have to pull the name of the main character, Santiago. Yeah. So later on in the story, I think like a little bit past halfway, um, the alchemist and Santiago gets to the oasis in the desert where he actually and I'm flipping through the pages to see if I can um, page 87. Maybe God created the desert so that man could appreciate the date trees, he thought. Operation Progress came by way of a conversation I was having with my cousin Nickelodeon. And I call her Nickelodeon, that's her nickname. Just, we won't get that twisted. But concluding our conversation, that's what we named it. With us both being aspiring writers, and me saying that I am very happy to be on the latter part of my 7 year cycle to get the pieces um, that I am about to present to the public domain in the final stages, in the final drafting stages, where I'm at the hopefully at the last leg with regards to major revisions, and so now I'm just going through um, the process of polishing and last minute formatting and things of that nature. It has been a long road, so much so that oftentimes I've lost sight of what I was actually aiming to do. Um, and I will, like, honestly speak of those times where I struggled with writer's block and how my moments, or those moments in particular, how those moments were so infused with depressive episodes of me wondering if I was going to ever get on the other side of it, if I was ever going to have a finished product where it would not only vet and validate what I've been going through, but also serve as evidence that my time had not been spent unwisely. Because there's this uh, element within my existence where those whose shoulders I have stood upon, it will serve up as honorarium to them standing in the gaps of my income continual, if you will, continuum. Because it wasn't just writing for me. And it won't be that way just for Nickelodeon either. Like the writing pieces will be just that. They'll be pieces inside of a foundation of an enterprise. They will be like intellectual seedings by which other things will cultivate and grow and be able to be harvested. So it was more than just wanting to be published. It was more than just wanting to be an author. There's an entire multiplex built in and around that which we are writing. And through the writings, the true authenticity of what we've gone through, what we've experienced, what it is that we will offer up as contribution to our existence is all interwoven in all of that. In order to produce content of that caliber, one must face off with itself. It must reconcile its past, its present, and be able to confidently, if you will, plant seeds of a more futuristic nature. If you're familiar with tarot, I have been in a legendary hermit mode. Legendary. So much so that many times I've referred to myself as the keymaker. Now, there was a time a few years ago where I kind of halted with that because, yeah, the keymaker didn't really. I mean, its moment was phenomenal, but it died. The keymaker died like before the end of the story. Now, I know it's like okay, death is inevitable. TC, you can't really like situate your thoughts around such things, but also In tarot, death means something else. Death means the end of one cycle, which automatically ushers in a new cycle. And so it made me think about the upcoming series on Apple TV called Dickinson, that's surrounded around the life of Emily Dickinson. The trailers are immaculate. And so there's one, I think the latest trailer that has been released, she says something to the fact that because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. And when I say the part in the trailer that the visual that is situated around her saying that is this carriage that's pulled by these omniscient horses, meaning they are not in physical form, but they're not completely invisible either. They really have a spiritual hue and flow to them. Very enchanting, very mystical, very whimsical. But the carriage itself is physical. It's material. And she hops into the carriage and death says, "Nice to see you." And it is such an alluring scene. It's such a metaphysical scene. It's such a beyond life depiction. Inside operation process. And it does not matter what it is that you're processing, whether you're processing a new life, whether you're processing reflection, whether you're processing just sub accomplishments within the greater accomplishment, the successive nature of obtaining that which your heart desires or following the instructions of your inner voice, aka Operation Process, Operation Progress, renders death kindly stopping for you. And you hop in, and by the time you come out of the carriage, you are a new being. You have either elevated, leveled up, shedded some skin, some demeanor, some past transgression, whatever have you. You emerge a new creature. I almost equated um, her facing off with death, and that's just let me just say this just to be real clear. Inside that moment, they made death look so sexy and so just, I mean, it was just it was such a sensuous moment, a very insatiable moment. I'm like, well, look at this. Like the realm of some folks' imagination is incredible to say the least. And it attracted me so much so that I had to begin once again contemplating death. Now, my Black Moon Lilith is in Libra, and I wondered if I was even going to disclose that, but I'm inside uh, the realm of tender transparency. And so I'm not going to worry too much about judgment right at this moment because I know I'm offering up this information solely for the sake of intellectual harvest season. And so the reciprocity has to be respectful because of the intention by which I am offering it up. With that being said, in light of Libra season, I went and performed, if you will, can't think of a better word right now, um, a at a glance analysis of all the places where Libra and or Venus is placed inside of my natal on upon my natal chessboard. Because remember, the maneuvering inside human embodiment is spiritual chess. As a Coach Mad Hatter, your view is all about the divine trifecta lens of me, myself, and I, sun, moon, and ascending. To play spiritual chess, one must understand its total placements at the time of its birth. Not knowing that, you're playing checkers. So, in honor of me being able to at least understand the Libra season energy and how I may be able to associate certain spiritual placements, certain spiritual infusions, ebbs and flows, how it could and could not enhance or withdraw from certain energy centers on how I move or don't move, speak or don't speak. So Nickelodeon is stepping into, I want to say she may be, and I'm just bringing up timelines right now just for the sake of comprehensible continuity, like just for us to be able to comprehend the continuity of Operation Progress. So I want to say that she's actively been engaged on her writer's journey for about 3 months. But the pre work, her pre work, she's been in it for a couple of years. And that means emotionally reconciling certain things, getting prepped and planning and situating life so that she may be able to write and those kind of things. Because folks think that you just sit down and you start writing. And as I've mentioned um, just a moment or two ago, you have to emotionally reconcile. You really do have to sit down with self and fine tune the intent. And then once that is clear, once you gain that level of clearance, then the words begin to pour in. And because writer's block is rhythmic and sometimes random, like my writer's blocks through reflection now make sense. They didn't make sense when I was going through them because I just wanted to write. I wanted to get it done. I wanted to get it finished because I was tired of double dutching with the poverty line. I was tired of not having. I was tired of sleeping on people's couches. I was really tired of the vagabond life. And now looking at it, the 7 years was due me. Now, does everyone have to go through that process? No. Mine was also interweaved in the challenge, the accepted challenge to weave myself off of antidepressants and serve as my own coach and become my internal therapist. So there was a lot of other things that were at play than me simply just sitting down and producing a manuscript. All of that are major, all of what I've just said were major components around what it is that I was writing. So much of my life had to unfold in certain areas in order for me to continue with the script. Some of the major portions of the script itself was on hold until certain things unfolded in my 3D. And then it took time to reflect and reconcile, and then I could write about it. But it was all in light of Operation Progress. Now, because me and Nickelodeon are writing about two different but similar components of life, I can't see it taking her 7 years. And then as well as the structure of her natal birth chest placements, her natal chest placement, where all the planetary infusions were at the time of her birth. She's a Sun Aquarius. Their ingenious entities are structured a little different than my Capricorn Sun, which stands as an eloquent example of what I mean when I say we really truly can't be comparing situations and trying to group ourselves with someone else's unfolding or progression. We are all different. We all came here for something different. Like we may have similarities and certain aspects of our lives may coincide, but it's still a very unique instance. And so there's no way I would ever try to counsel her and her process as it related to me and my process. We may compare notes and we may have the privilege of finding similarities in the process of the progress. And at best, we can thank the heavens that we have a like mind or a familiar view of something, which makes us kinfolk in different areas of the spiritual world. And the moment we begin comparing is the moment we begin to sabotage the relationship. We can compare notes. That's it. We can't compare nothing else. To be emotionally invested in the success is what will give the ultimate gesture to our acquaintance, not only as blood cousins, but as friends, as sister girls, as comrades out here in this struggle in the jungle. So, with that said, I am going to read to you a portion out of the overview for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen R. Covey. And I'm reading this for the sole purpose of us understanding Operation Progress on a different level and hopefully be able to shed some light, if at best, and lend us not only some courage, but some renewable creativity and optimism around our process to create original content. When we must sit with muse and also be non judgmental about where that all fits into the bigger picture. And if it's not right now pulling in some kind of income, that we totally dismiss it or give it no credit for the ultimate evolution of our maturity. And so it starts on page 67. How to use this book. And I swap in and out the how to use this book to how to use this life, how to use this patience, how to use this path, how to use this process, how to use this progress. Before we begin work on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I would like to suggest 2 paradigm shifts that will greatly increase the value you will receive from this material. First, I would recommend that you not see this material as a book, in the sense that it is something to read once and put it on a shelf. You may choose to read it completely through once for a sense of the whole, but the material is designed to be a companion in the continual process of change and growth. It is organized incrementally and with suggestions for application at the end of each habit so that you can study and focus on a particular habit as you are ready. As you progress to deeper levels of understanding and implementation, you can go back time and again to the principles contained in each habit and work to expand your knowledge, skill, and desire. Second, I would suggest that you shift your paradigm of your own involvement in this material from the role of learner to that of teacher. Take an inside out approach and read with the purpose in mind of sharing or discussing what you learn with someone else within 48 hours after you learn it. If you had known, for example, that you would be teaching the material on the P/PC balance principle to someone within 48 hours, would it have made a difference in your reading experience? Try it now as you read the final section of this chapter. Read as though you are going to teach it to your spouse, your child, your business associate, or friend today or tomorrow. While it is still fresh and notice the difference in your mental and emotional process. I guarantee that if you approach the material in each of the following chapters in this way, you will not only better remember what you read, but your perspective will be expanded, your understanding deepened, and your motivation to apply the material increased. In addition, as you openly, Honestly share what you are learning with others. You may be surprised to find that negative labels or perceptions others may have of you will tend to disappear. Those you teach will see you as a changing, growing person and will be more inclined to be helpful and supportive as you work, perhaps together, to integrate the 7 habits into your lives. What you can expect. In the last analysis, as Marilyn Ferguson observed, no one can persuade another to change. Each of us guard, each of us guards a gate of change that can only be opened from the inside. We cannot open the gate of another, neither by argument or emotional appeal. If you decide to open your gate of change to really understand and live the principles embodied in the 7 habits, I feel comfortable in assuring you several positive things will happen. And so I'm going to end it there. That is on page 69. You are definitely welcome to continue if you have the book. If you don't have the book, I invite you to get you a copy, and I invite you to get you a hard copy so that you may um, follow the suggestion of it being a companion, which will allow you to highlight and write in the margins and just grow with it. I have had this particular copy for some time now, so many of the sections I have went in and tabbed, and a lot of my immediate thoughts as I was reading certain things have been captured in the margins and in some of the blank spaces inside the book. So I think as we journey along, I will be not only giving firm reminders to what it is that I've just read, but also other more valuable, not more valuable, but other uh, co-valuable elements from out of this book. Um, so it would be a good time for me to go ahead on and roll off the 7 habits. So number 1 is be proactive. Number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. Number 4, think win-win. Number 5, seek to understand, then be understood. Number 6, synergize. And number 7, sharpen the saw. And so in the next installation, I'm going to go into the fable about the golden egg, as well as, let's see, we're going to tap into 3 kinds of assets. And I think that might be it from out of this particular book. Yeah. So, oh, we're definitely going to tap into the inside out paradigm, which is quite interesting. It goes very well with Disney's film Inside Out, uh, the um, the animation where it brings um, the main characters' emotionalities. They are personified. They have their own individual characters within her mental and emotional frame. which I thought was very ingenious. And seeing as that I love animation, it tickled my fancy just to see how about this, because I love animation and I'm also an investigator, researcher, development of emotions. So that, yeah, the marrying of such things tickled my fancy, and I thought it was really an ingenious way to give depiction to the emotions that reside within us. So yeah, that pretty much concludes our installment for days 10 through 11. And it's interesting too because I think this is the shortest installment I've ever done. And it's a span of 3 days. But it was impactful mainly because I would like for us to really check in with ourselves as we are on this journey to take stock of we uh, when we engage to be the teacher, as well as honoring those moments when we simultaneously serve as a student and a teacher. So, yeah, folks. Oh, I'm going to attach the latest trailer of Dickinson in the keynotes. I want you to check it out and just to see how enchanting this story is about to be, as well as give honor to those moments when you must die to your old self and get prepared to meet and greet your new self, and rearrange your perceptions around death and what it truly means. And hopefully we begin to put a lot more value and stock into our Phoenix moments as well as our Phoenix rising moments. Remember, every 7 years, something like this happens. Now, no, we don't know exactly how it's going to happen, how it's going to go down, but trust and believe it's going down. And then back up, and then down again, and then back up. The Phoenix shall rise. And with that said, thanks for joining me, and I wish you well.